continue in learning Rambam 3 chapters a day, we are in the laws of brachos. We continue chapter 4, Mishnah Aleph. Kol mevarach birchas hamazon baracha achas me'ein shalosh tzarich levarach isa b'makom she'achal. So yesterday we learned about what the blessings are, where, what kind of blessings, and what kind of foods you make on what blessings, and so on. Now, how about where are you supposed to make the blessing? So if you made a blessing on a piece of cake, or you recited one blessing of the Me'ein Shalish, which is the after blessing after the piece of cake, you have to make it in the place that you ate. What happens if you're traveling, you're walking, you're going somewhere, and you're eating something? Where you stop, you sit. Where you finished, and bless. Where you finished eating, stop, sit, and make a blessing. So if you ate standing, sit and make the blessing in that place wherein you finish. What happens if you forgot to make the birchas hamazon, the benching, the grace after meals, and you remember before the food was completely digested, right? It wasn't completely yet digested. So then, wherever you remember, sit there and make the grace after meals. If you did it purposefully, like you didn't care, I'm going to go, right, and make the blessing wherever. So then you have to go back to the place and make the blessing. However, if you did make the blessing in the place where you did remember and you didn't go back, you still fulfilled the commandment. Didn't do properly, you kind of ran off without doing your benching, but nonetheless, you fulfill the mitzvah even in that place, not returning. That's again if you did it purposefully. Likewise, if you made the blessing when you're standing as opposed to sitting, because you should sit, or that you are walking, you still fulfill the mitzvah. The preferred way that you do this is that where you are benching or making the after blessing for the piece of cake, for example, you should do it sitting in the place where you ate. Now, halacha 2. What happens if you forgot? You're not certain, or not forgot. I mean, you're uncertain. You're in doubt whether you made the blessing hamaitzi lechem min haaretz, right? You don't go back and make the blessing hamaitzi. Why? Because it's only it's a rabbinic law, not a biblical law. And when it comes to rabbinic law, we are more lenient, and therefore we don't want you to make a blessing in vain. When it comes to biblical law, we're more stringent when it comes. And the only biblical law is the law of benching, birchas hamazon, grace after meals. The rest are rabbinic laws, as we learned previously. What happens if you forgot? Where you forgot to make a maitzi, you were not certain. You know you didn't make the maitzi lechem min haaretz. So at that point, you wash and go, make a maitzi, and finish your meal. If it's after the meal, you don't go back and make the blessing because you finished your meal. Halacha 3. You're eating your meal in your home, for example, and you finish your meal, and then you're going to someone else's home. Or another instance, you were eating and your friend calls you to speak to you, and you go outside to the front door. So in those instances, here we're talking about amaitzi, you have to now bench because you left your place of eating. You went outside or you went to a different home. You need now to do birchas hamazon and go back and wash again and make hamotzi and then again and then continue your meal because you left the place. Chavim shahayu yeshim le'echol yotzu likras chosen or likras kala im hinichol sham zokin chele chayzim keimam gem sudosam ve'ein tzrichim levarach shniya. Now, another instance, you're sitting with a bunch of people. In the previous, it was you're sitting by yourself and you walked out. Your friend came to your house and you went on a walk with him, or you went to your neighbor's house. You came back. You have to bench now. You can't continue your meal. But what happens if you're sitting with a bunch of people and it is for the wedding or for Sheva Brachas, for example, and you went out to greet the chassan and kala because it's a nice thing to do, to go outside and greet them and dance them into your home for the meal, for the bride and the groom. So if you leave some people left in by the meal, then you can come back and you don't have to bench and make make other blessings because you left some people there. If they did not leave an older person there or a sick person in the place that they ate, I think that's just a common thing that, an older person like that wouldn't go out or that they were sick. So when they depart, what happens? There's no one left. It doesn't have to be, it could be anybody that you leave there that's of the meal. So in other words, the meal is still sort of carrying on. They're kind of a reminder. There isn't what's called hesach hadas, the disconnect from the meal. And therefore, you don't have to bench and make a second blessing. But if you didn't leave anybody there, you have to go now bench and start all over again. Halacha 5. Similarly, if you're sitting now, till now we spoke about making a maitzi, right? A full-fledged meal with over bread, breaking bread. But what if you were just sitting and you're drinking? So just having some fruits. So when you change your place, right, you have now ended your eating. Therefore, you have to make a blessing, an after blessing on what you ate. And you have to go back and make a second blessing. Preferably, this is the appropriate way on that which you're going to now eat further, right? So you had your apple, you're sitting in the den, and then you walked out. So now, what happens if you just change your position from one corner of the room to the other corner of the room? In the same house. Then you don't have to because you're in the same room. But what if you're eating by one side of the fruit of a fig tree, big fat fig tree, that right? And you're sitting on one side, and now you're going on the other side to eat. There's no boundaries over here of walls, so you could say that you're one corner to another corner. There's no boundaries here. That's considered already that you have to go back and make the after blessing and make new blessings again because you left your place. Why? Because this fig tree it's wide, and therefore you can't see from one side of the fig tree to the other side of the fig tree. And since you can't see, you need to make your after blessing and now make new blessings. Of course, we're talking about that you want to continue eating. If you don't want to continue eating, then you just make your after blessing and you're finished. Halacha 6. So when a person made a blessing on bread, that includes all the appetizers, all the other foods, all the things that you eat together with bread. all of the cooked food, all of the fruits and everything. But what if you recited on the side dishes, so to speak, right? Not the bread. I don't mean side dishes. I mean, it could be the main course, right? It could be the chicken and the potatoes. So you made the blessing on the chicken and the potatoes, right? That doesn't help you with the bread. But if you made on the bread, that includes everything in the meal. You don't have to make blessings now on the chicken and on the potatoes all separate. So reciting blessing on cooked grains includes the cooked food. Reciting on the cooked food, however, does not include cooked grains. Halacha 7. A person decided in their heart, just didn't even verbalize it, right? That they are finished to eat, finished to drink. And then you decide, you know what, I'm going to eat something more, I'm going to drink something more. Afterwards, you decide. Even though you didn't change your place, right? If you change your place, right, you went from inside, outside to the house, or even if you went upstairs, right? You're not in the same room. You went upstairs to a different flight. Now you have to make an after blessing. You want to continue, you have to make a new blessing on the food, right? But what happens over here, we're talking about that you are in the same place, but you decided you are finished eating. And then you said, you know what? Actually, I wouldn't mind having some dessert. You have to make a blessing now on that dessert, even though it might be the same blessing on the food that you ate previously. You have to make an after blessing on what you ate and a new blessing on this new food. On the other hand, if you did not decide in your heart, in other words, you didn't even verbalize it, right? But your intention is that you're going to return to eat and drink, even though the whole day passed by, right? You don't make another blessing. So, you had this water, and I'm going to drink water all day. I'm deciding on drink water all day. L'chaim, I already made a bracha. So if I decide now I'm going to stop, even though I'm sitting in the same place, I have to make an after blessing and make a new blessing on the water, right? But if I decided a whole day, now there's other things here about the food getting, if you're no longer hungry from that food, so that's different issues. But we're talking here about, it brings out the idea of intention of an individual. Halacha 8. So people are sitting together, they're drinking, right? They're having some l'chaim, they're having wine, they're having some single malt and sing l'chaim together, and then they say, let's go recite Birchas Hamazon, grace. Or it was before Shabbos, and they say, come, let's go make now Kiddush because it's Shabbos. We said a little l'chaim before Shabbos now, but Shabbos is coming. So Neser Aleim Lishtais. So now it's not permitted to continue drinking because you said, let us do grace or let us do Kiddush. In other words, we're coming to do something. And we're saying that we're finished with what we did and we're doing something new called grace or Kiddush. So that is an intent, and therefore you can't continue to drink until you make a new blessing or you make the Kiddush on for Friday night. Now they said this, right? And they want now to drink more, although they're not permitted to do so, right? Because they have already decided not to. And now they want to go and continue because they need to make the grace after meals because they said they were going to make the grace or the Kiddush. So they're required to make a new blessing, Brei Pri Hagafen, before they drink. However, that's only when it comes to making Kiddush on Friday night. But what if we say that we're going now, that we're not, that we're going to recite Havdalah? So you're not required to recite a blessing if you want to continue to drink. Not necessary to do that. Okay. Halacha 9. You're sitting with friends and you're drinking wine, and a different kind of wine was served. For example, you're drinking red wine, and then they brought you this black wine, or they brought you, you had an aged wine, and now they brought you a fresh wine. You do not have to make the blessing on wine another time, even though, you started off with one kind of wine, right? And you got a different kind of wine. You didn't expect it, but still you made the blessing on wine, so it covers it. However, you do make a blessing of thanking God, King of the universe, who is good and does good. Special blessing when we get like unexpected goodness. It comes to us, we're drinking something that we expected, and then we got this extra special black wine. Wow. Okay, let's make that blessing. I'm not certain if we do that today. To my knowledge, we don't make that blessing. Halacha 10. Ein mevarchim al eichel min ha'achalim v'loi al mashke min ha'mashkim ad she'yavoy lefonav. Now, when do you make the blessing? The food's coming, you're being served, but it's not here yet. Right? You can't make a blessing until the food or the drink is there before you, right? If you did recite a blessing and then the food was brought to you, you got to make another blessing, right? So if I didn't have the cup in front of me and I made a bracha, the cup was in the other room there, and then, someone brought it to me thereafter, but it wasn't in front of me, I have to make that a second blessing. So we have to be careful to make sure, of course, that it's in front of us, that which we're blessing. Notol eichel uverach alav nofel miyadoi v'nisref shotvei v'nahar neichel acher v'chayzer mevarach alav. Now, what happens if you had your cup in front of you, and all of a sudden, and you made a blessing, and it fell from your hand, or it got burnt up, or a river, you're by the river, and the river kind of took it. So you take another, and you make another blessing. You take in other words, because it's important. It's all about the intention. It's all about the mind and the intention. And since I didn't, this got lost, and now I got a different cup that came to me with a different water in it, right? So I have to make another blessing. I can't rely on the original blessing. Even though it's from the same, it's the same water, but it's not the same water. It's of water, right? Still, you make another blessing. Now, on that first blessing, it was in vain. So we have to say, Baruch Shem, blessed is the name, Kavod, the honorable name of God, Umalchusai, and his kingship forever. So that's what whenever we make a bracha that is in vain, we say that. Now, what's you're by the river, right? And you're making a blessing, and you're by the river, and then you pick up the water, right? Not that you picked up the water first, but then you pick, you don't have to make another blessing, because your intent was the water that you're going to pick up that from the river, that's what you're going to drink. So your intent was, right, if this fell out of my hand and it got busted, and then someone brought me another cup right away, and I drank the same kind of thing of water, I didn't have that in mind. I had in mind what broke. But when I'm by the river, I have in mind of the water that I'm going to pick up, whichever water it happens to be. So therefore, you don't have to go back and make a second blessing. 11. Things that come in the middle of the meal, right? So foods are brought, right? You don't have to make. You made a maitzi on the bread. You don't need now to make blessings on other things, because all of the other things are secondary part to the meal, which what is making the meal is breaking bread, is over the bread. And likewise with reciting grace after meals, the benching also includes all of the foods that we had in the meal. We don't need any separate blessing. Foods that are eaten within the meal, but don't come because of the meal. Those require that you make a first blessing, but not an after blessing. Foods that are eaten after the meal, whether because of the meal or independent of the meal, they require a blessing beforehand and afterwards. Oops. Need an example for that. 1 second. It's after the meal, so you already. In other words, it's foods sort of like, you already benched, and now you're getting you're getting foods that were similar to foods that you had because of the meal or independent of the meal. You need to make before and after blessing. But I'm not certain if in the previous paragraph, like dessert, right, is not part of the meal. Meal means to satiate. We don't eat dessert to satiate us. We eat dessert to have a little good taste left. So dessert, we have to make a blessing on it because it's not coming as a result of the meal, right? It's coming for another purpose. So therefore, you have to make the original blessing. If you're having cake, you're having a sweet or something like that. Last halacha in this chapter, number 12. So on Shabbos, and holidays, at meals after one does what's called bloodletting, hakaza, or after leaving the bathhouse, which also was an engagement back in the day, and the like. So when a person makes wine a primary element of their meal, so if he recites the blessing on the wine before he eats the meal, that blessing will include everything that he drinks during the meal, before reciting grace after meals. In contrast, let me read further here in the Hebrew first. So in contrast, on other days, right, not days of coming out of the from bloodletting and the bathhouse, right? It's in the midst of the meal. Other days, a person should recite another blessing on the wine, what he is drunk after the meal. Blessing on the wine they drunk after the meal. Yes. Okay. If wine is served to accompany in the middle of a meal, so each person should make their own bracha. Why? Because once you're eating and your mouth is full, and then your mouth is not going to necessarily be empty, that you swallowed everything to recite a proper Amen. Therefore, this blessing, therefore, you need to make your own blessing because it's the middle of the meal. This blessing doesn't include the wine that was drunk after the meal, right? It's a separate thing. All right, we continue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rabel, all on the road.
Perek Chamishi, the 5th chapter.
You're gonna scroll Mendel. Where's Mendel? Maybe come over here, Mendel, so you can scroll. Might be easier. Oops, what happened there?
I think Mendel's sharing his. Are we ready to go?
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. Mendel?
I don't know if you're looking for whose screen is being shared now, Mendel's or yours?
It's not mine.
So then
No, it's on my screen. I see it's on my screen. No, okay, he's coming here.
Okay, so go back to the Rambam on your screen.
Huh?
So go back to the Rambam on your screen.
Just here. What did you do to?
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How do you get rid of this?
I don't know.
Want to get rid of it?
I don't know how to.
You don't have to get rid of it. Just open the Rambam on that screen.
Okay, here. I gotta run. So.
I don't know how to do it. I never did it before. Should I go on my screen and do the Rambam?
Just go to daily study from there.
I don't see how to get rid of it.
So send me a link of the daily.
It says that it's viewing Mendel's screen. You are viewing Mendel Fine's screen. It says on top.
I know. How do we get rid of Mendel's screen?
Is he host?
I don't think so. I'm host.
So then on the top, take the drop down and close his screen share.
Here. Stop participant. Okay.
There you go. Okay. Now share your screen.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, chapter number 5, Perek Chamishi, coming to you from Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Don't worry, tomorrow we'll be back to regular programming. Okay, halacha number 1.
Thanks for the skylight over there. Good to see the weather.
Now you can see my face a little bit. Oh, it's really hot over here today. Don't ask. Okay. Halacha Aleph, halacha number 1. Nashim v'avadim chayavim v'rksamazin. So women and slaves are also obligated in grace after meals. So the suffix yesh badavar, it's a question, it's a suffix. We're not sure. Im hein chayavim min hatayra, if the obligation is a biblical obligation or just a rabbinic obligation. Why? Lefi shein kavur zman. As we know, women are not obligated in mitzvahs that have a specific time that they have to get done. So since this is not a mitzvah that has a specific time, or maybe they're not biblically obligated. It's a debate. We're not sure. Therefore, they can't. A woman or a slave cannot have in mind a boy that's over bar mitzvah because he has a biblical obligation for sure. But ktanim, meaning children under bar mitzvah, so they have an obligation from the rabbis, a rabbinic obligation, in order to teach them how to do the mitzvahs. If they don't practice, then they'll never know how to do it. Halacha beis, halacha number 2. 3 people that we're sitting. We're going to talk now about the idea of zimun. Zimun is similar to the idea of a minyan. A minyan is when you daven 10 people together, but when you eat together, so if there's 3, there's one type of zimun, a group of people that could do grace after meals together, and if there's 10, it's even a better type of zimun, of a special blessing that you add to the grace after meals. So now let's get to 3. 3 people that were sitting together and eating, meaning that they ate as one. They were eating part of one meal. So then, so then they have to add this zimun before before the benching, Kaidem Birkas Hamazon, before grace after meals. Ve'ezu Birkas Hazimun, what is this special blessing? If there were 3 to 10, meaning 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people sitting together, so then Mevarech Echad Me'em V'Omer, so one person, it says Nevarech Shachan Mishalai. And everybody answers him, Baruch Shachan Mishalayv Tuvechayinu. And then Vahu Chayzer Vaymer, and then the leader repeats Baruch Shachan Mishalayv Tuvechayinu. Halacha Gimel number 3. And afterwards he says, Baruch Tashem Lekin Melch Haylam Azana Salem Kul Betuvay Ad Shegaymer Arba Brachis Vein Aymin Aynin Amin Acher Kal Bracha Bracha. So then he starts the grace after meals, like we discussed yesterday, with the first blessing, the second, the third, and the fourth blessing of grace after meals. And after each blessing of grace after meals, the others sitting there, the ones that are part of the Zimun, answer Amen. Allah Dalid number 4. So this is from 3 to 10, but what if there were 10 or more? So then you do a similar Zimun, but you do it with God's name. You add Hashem's name into it. Ketzad, how is it done? The leader says, you add Hashem's name, inside that blessing. And also the response adds Elokeinu, Hashem's name. And he repeats and he says, again, Baruch Elokeinu with Hashem's name, and then we start grace after meals. Halacha hey number 5. Someone who's at a meal in a house where marriage happened, either at the wedding or shortly thereafter. Even before, when you're preparing for the wedding, until 30 days after the wedding. Wow, this is you ever heard of a long? I forget. There's a long what is it? The Italian wedding, the Greek wedding. Look at this long Jewish wedding. 30 days after the wedding, you still you still make the bracha, this special zimun blessing, that there's a simcha here. Now we have the custom, we only do it for the first 7 days. That's the way, that's halacha, the way we do it. They noinim, and they answer, so even in the response, there is this idea of shasimcha, talking about the joy of this wedding. And if there were 10, so then you add the word Elokeinu, shasimcha, and you add Hashem's name. And also when they answer, they add the word Elokeinu, they add Hashem's name. So the also a meal that you do after the wedding. If you're doing a meal after the wedding, let's say 6 months later, this is an example that comes to my head, but let's say 6 months after the wedding, you did the wedding in Israel, but then you come back to Montreal and you want to do a celebration for those who missed it in Israel, right? So even if it's 6 months later, the Rambam says that you still, it's like a wedding, and you say, Mevarech Shasimcha b'mayna, you also use this special blessing. Halacha Vav number 6. It's not like an optional thing that if you want, you could add this in. No, everybody's obligated in this zimun in grace after meals. Even Kohanim that ate from sacrifices in the Azara inside the Beis Hamikdash. Kohanim, also Kohanim, Yisraelim, Shachal Ke'echad, whether it's Kohanim and Yisraelim that ate, and Israelites that ate together, Kohanim Truma, and even they're eating different meals. Kohanim were eating Truma, which is special food only a Kohen could eat, and Yisrael Chulin, and the Israelite is eating regular food. Chayom Bezimon, they still have to make this special Zimon with Kichiyuvan, just like they have to do grace after meals. Halacha Zayin number 7. That women and slaves and kids under bar mitzvah, you don't make this Zimon. But if it's a group of women or a group of avadim, etc., each one for themselves, they could make a Zimon for themselves. But even women, slaves, and children, they don't mix because it's not sanua, it's not a proper thing. Everybody, each group does for themselves, but they don't make a zimun with Hashem's name in it. And androgynous and androgynous, they also can do it with themselves, but not with others, because it's a suffix which category it goes into. Tumtum doesn't make a zimun at all. A katan, someone before bar mitzvah that knows that we're blessing Hashem is amen love, so you do include him in the zimun. even if he's young, 7, 8 years old, it's not bein leminyan shleisha, bein leminyan asara, and is included whether it's for the 3 or whether it's for the 10. Va'anochli and mizamen alav, and a non-Jew does not come part of the zimun. Halacha ches, number 8. Ein mizamen elul mishachal kazayis pasel l'maylo. We don't make a zimun only if someone ate at least kazayis. Kazayis is the size of an olive, so a piece of bread that was at least the size of an olive. Shiva shachlu pas shloisha achlu meyan yerek. If 7 ate bread and 3 of them ate yerek, which is vegetables or something else, or tzir, which is some sort of liquid mixture, the kiyetzabe and mitzdarf and lezam b'shem, so they do get included, and you could use Hashem's name. But the one who's leading, he has to be someone that actually washed and ate bread. But what if the balance of the people is 6 ate bread and 4 ate other things, just vegetables, etc.? They do not. You have to have that most of them ate bread, but not just 6 and 4. It has to be noticeably most ate it. So 6 and 4 is not good enough. It has to be at least 7 and 3. But this is what we're talking about when we're trying to make a zimun for 10. But if 3, everybody, each one of them has to eat the size of an olive. They have to eat at least the size of an olive of bread, and then you can make a zimun for 3. Halacha 9, halacha tes. 2 people were eating together and they finished to eat, and a third person just showed up and he started eating. So even if the other 2 that finished eating should eat something small, whatever it is on the table, just eat something small, and then they can make a zimun together. And the most important person sitting there, he should be the leader, even if he's the last one that showed up. Yud, number 10. 3 people ate together. They can't say, oh, let's split now, that way we don't have to make a zimun. Even 4 or 5, they can't do that. But 6, they could. 6 could split, because then you have 2 groups of 3 and they can still make a zimun. But once you hit 10, then you can't. Then you can't split up until you have 20. That way when they split up, it's 2 groups of 10. The point is that every time they split up, that they should be able to make the same blessing of zimun if they were all together. So at 20, they say Hashem's name. If they split 10 and 10, so they still say Hashem's name. But if it's 10 and you split, they could have said Hashem's name 10 together. But if it's 3 and 3 or 4 and 6, then they can't. So Yeshlam Lecholik, so that's the only way that they could split up. We'll be there in 10 minutes. 3 people, 3 people that came, 3 groups of 3 and 3. Yosef, can you take over from here?
Where are we holding? Yeah, I lost.
Halacha Yod Aleph, 11. Okay, Yosef, you're good? I have to go. Where's Yosef? You have to ask him to unmute or something, Mendel.
How do I do that?
Go to his name by the participants and ask him to unmute.
Yosef, you're there? I don't think
he turned off his sound, maybe because he's learning.
Oh.
Click to ask him to unmute. It will show up on his screen. Okay, because I have to go. I'm gonna.
Guys, if you're there, you hear us?
Yes.
Unmute. Label had to go. Could you continue from
All right.
11?
We'll continue from number 11. Mendel, if you want, you can make me host and I can share my screen so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
You want to make me host? Or
Yeah.
you want to share your screen? Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, we're starting here from number 11. Okay. We're here by number 11. If three people came together from three different groups, meaning three people, and three people, you can't break up the group. But if they already did the zimun, then they can't break up. If they already had a zimun, then they're fine. Three people that came to eat bread, even though each one is eating their own meal, they still, and you could think, oh, maybe I'm eating my own meal, so I could just go on my way. So you say, no, because you're three eating together, then you have to do a zimun, and then you can part ways. Number 12. If two groups were eating in the same house at different places of the house, if they can see each other, then they're considered a group and they need to do one zimun. But if they can't see each other, then they can do two different zimuns. If you have an attendant, someone that's like a waiter or waitress that's serving both of them, then it's considered one group, even if you don't see each other. But as long as you hear each other, then you should make one zimun. Number 13. If you had three people and one of them went out, so call the person back so he can hear what you're saying, and then you could do a zimun altogether. And when this person that was outside comes back to the house, he should bench by himself. But if you had 10 people sitting together and one person left, you can't do a zimun by him just hearing it. He actually has to come back, sit down in his place, and then he can be part of the 10. Number 14. If three were sitting together and one decided to bench by himself, the other two should make a zimun, including him, but the other two are the only ones that had the mitzvah of doing zimun. But this person, since he benched already, you can't do a zimun retroactively. So therefore, he does not have the mitzvah of zimun. Number 15. Two people that are together, so there's no zimun, they should just each bench by themselves. If one of them knows how to bench and the other one doesn't, the person that knows should do it out loud, and the other person should answer amen, and he fulfills his obligation. A son can do it for a father, a servant can do it for his master, and a woman can do it for a husband. But our sages says, may a curse come onto a person whose wife and his children recite the grace for him, meaning they know it and he doesn't know it. That's not okay. Everyone should know it. Number 16. Now, when can a child or a wife make the benching and you are and it's considered good for you is only if you're both on the same level, meaning you both only have to bench on a rabbinic standpoint, which means you are not satisfied. But if you are satisfied, then you have to bench on a biblically, and they only have to do it rabbinically because they don't have the biblical obligation. So then their rabbinic benching does not suffice for your biblical benching that you have to do. The reason is because anytime that you're obligated for something biblically, the only person that's also obligated biblically can that person fulfill your obligation. Number 17. If you came inside and you saw people doing the zimun, the person that's blessing is reciting, so then you should answer Baruch Hu Mevarach. But if you hear the people responding, then you should answer Baruch Shechan Mishaloi. If they're saying Baruch Shalom Shalom, meaning they're repeating, then you should answer Amen. Chapter number 6 and the final chapter for today. Number 1. Anytime that you have bread that you have to make hamotzi, you need to wash your hands before you make the blessing. Even though it's not sacred bread, and even though your hands are not dirty or your hands are not are pure, you still must wash before you eat. There also anything that is dipped in liquids, you also have to wash your hands for. So that's why when it comes to the Seder night, we wash our hands before we dip the onion or the potato in the water, because that's dipped in water. It's not customary that we do it every single day, but on the Seder night, we actually do that, what the Maimonides is mentioning. Number 2, anytime you wash your hands, whether it's for eating or for reciting Shema or for prayer, you should make the blessing of Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvos v'tzivanu al tis yadayim. He's answering a question because it says, blessed are God that commanded us. But this is not a commandment from God. It's not a biblical commandment. It's only a commandment from our rabbis. So he answers that by saying, because it says in the Torah, in Deuteronomy, do not stray from all the laws that they directed you, which means that you have to follow whatever the sages tell you. So by following the sages, you're following what the Torah says, and therefore we can consider it a commandment from God. The water, the rinsing of the fingers that the males do at the end of the meal, called mayim achronim, there you do not make a blessing before, because it's only done for sakana, in order to be safe. And because of that, you don't make a blessing, but because of that, you have to be very careful for it, because it's for your own safety. Number 3. Washing your hands between one food and another, between courses, is not obligated. If you want, you can. If you don't want, you don't have to. Fruits that are not sacred, you don't have to wash your hands before or after. If somebody does wash his hands before partaking in fruit, he's considered among an egotistical type of person. He's all going overboard. There was an issue back in the day that bread had salt, and certain salts, which were sodomite salt, or salt that resembles sodomite salt, were very dangerous for the eyes. So therefore, you had to wash your fingers after, and in order to make sure that salt doesn't get into your eyes. And that's where the custom of washing your fingers after eating comes from. Now, if you were in the army camp, you were not obligated to wash your hands before, because you're busy at war, but you had to wash your hands after, because it was a danger was involved, and therefore we wanted to make sure you were out of danger. Number 4, till where should somebody wash his hands? Until his wrist. You wash all the way down to your wrist, right over here. You should have the amount of a revius for both hands. Whatever is considered an intervening substance when it comes to going to the mikvah, likewise when you're washing your hands. Whatever liquids that may include in the measure for a mikvah also is included in the shir revius for washing your hands. And that he'll speak about in the laws of mikvah. Number 5, anyone that needs to wash your hands, and instead of washing, he actually dipped his hand in the water. He immersed it in water instead of taking the water and pouring it over his hand. That is okay. But if he did it if he dipped it in, it's smaller than the amount that's needed for mikvah, or he dipped his hand in water that has been poured onto the ground, then it's not considered washing your hands. Water that is poured by man can purify hands only when it is poured over them, which means if you take water and you pour it on the ground and then dip your hands, it's no good. Only if you take that water and you pour it over. But let's say if you dip your water in the ocean or things like that were not poured there by man, then it's considered good for washing your hands. Number 6, whenever you wash your hands, you be careful for 4 things. The water itself should not be unacceptable for washing hands. You should make sure you should have the right measurement, which is a revius for both hands. One second. You should make sure that you have enough for a revius for both. One second. And revius for both hands. And it should be a vessel. And when you pour it, it has to be with the power of a person. Number 7. Now we're going to go specifically in those 4 things. So now specifically about water that is no good for washing your hands. Shinoi mara, if the color is changed. Vigilo, if it was left open, and work was done with it. And if an animal won't drink from it because it's no good. Water that changed colors, whether it is in a vessel or it's in the ground, or it changed colors because something fell into it or because of its place, it's invalid. If it was uncovered in a manner that causes it forbidden to drink, it's also forbidden to wash your hands with it. Number 8. Any water that you did a task with it is no good. Ketza, what does that include? Let's say you did water, you wash dishes, and you want to use that water. We're talking about back in the day when water, didn't come from the tap. It wasn't so easy. So they, maybe a guy thought, I'll use the same water I'll recycle the water that I wash my dishes, I'll wash my hands with it. That's no good. And water that you decided to soak things in it is also not good. But if you wash clean or new vessels, then it's that water's fine. Water in which the baker dips crackers in it is no good. And also, but in contrast, water that he removes from the dough when he's kneading, that is acceptable. Water that is removed, that was used for a task, but water from which he removed it is remain acceptable. So which means that if you take the water from what he's doing, then it was considered a task. But if you remove, let's say, the dough from the water, then it's not considered a task, and it's considered kosher. Number 9, if a dog won't drink it, Kigai, for example, marim, they're bitter, or meluchim, salty, or kurin, or murky, or reach rau, it smells bad. If it is in a vessel, then it's no good to wash your hands. But if it's in the ground, you're allowed to dip your hands in it. The hot springs of Tiberias, you're allowed to dip your hands in it. But if you took it if you took it out from there, or you drew the water out of there, then you cannot wash your hands, because really that water is no good. An animal wouldn't drink that water, so therefore it's no good. So if you dip it in its place, fine, but once you start schlepping it away, it's no good anymore. Number 10. Yesh lanoitel litain al yadam ma'at sheyitin kasher. When you're washing your hands, you're allowed to pour a little bit at a time until you have the right amount. If you did it at one pour, it's also good. You could put a bunch of hands together and then one pour over everybody's hands is fine. But as long as the hands are not tight together, in order that the water could seep through. And also you have to make sure that there is at least a revi'it of water for each hand. Number 11. One may not use the following to wash one's hands: the sides of the vessels, the base of the samovar, pieces of earthenware, or the covering of a jug. If you fixed it up, then you could. But if it's broken, that's when we're saying you're not allowed. But a sack or a basket, you should not wash your hands with them. One may not hold water on one's hands and pour it over his car. You can't take water like this and just pour it. That's no good. A vessel that was broken in a way that it becomes pure from its impurity, meaning you broke it enough for that is no good to wash your hands. Number 12. Any type of vessel you're allowed to, even if it's a vessel used for cows to go to the bathroom. It's a vessel made from cow dung or earth, it's fine. As long as they're whole. If it cannot hold a revius, then it's no good. Number 13. All people are acceptable to pour water, even someone that's deaf mute or a mentally incapable person or a minor. If he doesn't have somebody else to do it, he should put the vessel between his knees and bend over and wash his hands. A monkey is allowed to wash for you, but the best way to do it is just wash one hand with one hand and then use the other one to use the other hand, because like we said before, it has to be done with the power of someone. It can't just, have running water. Number 14. Therefore, you can't turn on the faucet, for example, and just put your hand in. That gets a little complicated. Number 14. Hashoikis shedoyla adam biyadai oy begalgam anoisin l'seicha v'amayim nimshach memena ba'ama v'hoichin mashkin eirake soya behemis v'niach yadav v'sheikis v'avra amayim v'shatfal yadav loyos le'antila. If a person, if let's say there is water streaming through a pipe or irrigation channels, and it's going on all the vegetables, and you decide you're going to stick your hand in there and let the water go on your hand, that's no good. Why? Because it's not coming with the power of a person. But if a person's hands was close to the place where the bucket is poured out, so that the water passes over one's hand because the power of a human being, meaning you were right there when he poured it and you put your hand in there, that's fine. But if it's far away, then it's kind of going on its own and it's not by the power of a person, and therefore it's no good. If you had a doubt regarding water, if a task was done with it or not, or you had a doubt if it was the right amount, if it was pure or impure, suffix not together, suffix not together. If you are in doubt if you washed your hands or not, then if you are in this doubt, then you are considered pure and you don't have to do it again. When you wash your hands, you have to keep your hands upright to make sure that the water goes down past your wrist. Because if you put your hands down, then it could be the water can go past your wrist and back into your wrist. But the water, the washing of your fingertips at the end of eating, like we said, because you're worried about the salt, you actually should put your fingers downward. So therefore, the salt should leave your fingers. When you're washing the waters before eating, you could wash it on top of anything, either on top of the ground or on top of other vessels. The second water should only be done in a vessel. The water is that you wash your hands before eating can be either warm water or cold water, doesn't matter. The waters after should not be warm waters. What type of hot is something that you're scared, when it touches you, you jolt back. That's considered hot. That's not good enough for it, because that does not take away the filth. Because one cannot rub one's hands together with it because it's too hot. But if it was just warm, then you can use it for the water after. Number 17. You can wash hands in the morning and have in mind for the entire day, as long as you don't take your mind off it. But if you divert your attention from it, then you need to wash again. Number 18. A person can put the food in a cloth, the bread or the whatever was dipped in water, and hold the cloth and not touch the bread, and then you don't have to wash. If you're feeding somebody else, you do not have to wash your hands. But the person that's eating, even though he's not touching the food, he still has to wash his hands. And the same thing happens if you, by mistake, happen to eat with a fork. No, I'm kidding. Then you also still have to wash your hands. Even if you're not touching the food and only the fork is touching it, you still have to wash your hands. Number 19. You cannot feed someone if you know that they didn't wash their hands. It's forbidden to treat washing the hands, carelessly. Even if you only have a little bit of water, and that's the water that you plan on drinking that day, you should wash your hands with some of it and drink the rest. Number 20, and the final one for today. A person, before you wash, your hands shouldn't be wet. You have to dry your hands and make sure they're wet. After you wash your hands, you shouldn't be eating the food while your hand is wet, meaning you wash your hands and then you touch the bread. Make sure your hands are dry before you touch the bread. And if you do eat before you dry your hands, it is considered eating impure bread. And when you wash your fingertips at the end, you make sure you wash, wipe, you dry them, and then you bench. And right after you wash your fingertips, then you should bench and do the grace after meals. Don't interrupt with anything else. Even just to drink a sip of water, you shouldn't. Once you wash your fingers at the end, right away go into the grace after meal, into the benching. And with this, we finish the final chapter for today. If there are any questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead. All right, I see that there is no questions today. Look forward to. Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
Hi, Rabbi Yosef. I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
What happens if you have leftovers and you had said the bracha for them, and then the next day you go to eat them? Do you have to recite the bracha again?
Yes.
Okay.
If you eat something and you make a pause in between, you have to make a blessing again.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Excellent. It was great to see everybody today, and it was great to learn these very practical laws when it comes to washing our hands and when it comes to benching and things that we do every single day. And everyone should be blessed with a wonderful, wonderful day, and look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
Thank you so
Thank
very much.
you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Have a
Rabbi.
wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Have a wonderful day.